There is a number so large that most human minds cannot process it as real. Not a million, not a billion, not even 10 billion. We are talking about a number that has crossed $250 billion. A number that has on certain days touched 300 billion. A number that makes Elon Musk not merely the richest person alive, but the richest private individual in the recorded history of human civilization. And yet the man behind that number sleeps on factory floors. He has been divorced 3 times. He has 11 children by 3 different women. He has publicly described his childhood as miserable, his relationships as failures, and his mind as something he would not wish on anyone. He has wept on television, been mocked by world leaders, and stood inside a factory at 3 in the morning trying to solve a problem that should have been solved 6 months earlier. His name is Elon Musk. And his story is not the story of a man who wanted to be rich. It is the story of a man who wanted to save the human species and discovered somewhere along the way that saving the human species requires an almost incomprehensible amount of money. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, The Boring Company, X, formerly known as Twitter, each won a bet that most rational people said was impossible. Each one either already transforming the world or positioned to do so within the next decade. This is the story of where that fortune came from, what it cost, who it left behind, and what, if anything, Elon Musk plans to do with it before he runs out of time. Elon Reeve Musk was born on June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa. He was the firstborn child of Elon Musk, an electromechanical engineer and property developer, and May Musk, a model and dietitian who would later become one of the most recognizable faces in her own right. Appearing on magazine covers well into her 70s, walking runways and building a career that outlasted 2 marriages and outlived every expectation placed on her by the country she was born in. The family was comfortable, not extravagantly wealthy, but comfortable in the way that a successful engineer in apartheid-era South Africa could be, with property, with staff, with a life that looked stable from the outside and was considerably more complicated within. Elon's relationship with his father, Errol, has been described by Elon himself in terms that leave little room for ambiguity. He has called his father a terrible human being. He has said in interviews that almost every evil thing you can think of, Errol has done. The details he has shared publicly are dark. The ones he has chosen not to share are, by his own implication, darker still. It was not a safe childhood. It was not a warm one. What it was solitary. Elon was small for his age, socially awkward in ways that made him a target, and intellectually advanced in ways that made him an outsider. He was bullied severely, not occasionally, not casually, but with the kind of sustained, organized cruelty that leaves marks that no amount of money ever fully erases. He was thrown down a flight of stairs by a group of boys. He was beaten badly enough on at least one occasion to require hospitalization. He retreated into books, into science fiction, into the internal landscape of a mind that was already working on problems most adults around him had never considered. By the time he was 10 years old, he had taught himself to code. At 12, he sold his first software in a video game called Blastar to a computer magazine for $500. $500, his first transaction. The first time his mind converted into money. His parents divorced when he was 9. He chose to live with his father, a decision he has since described as a mistake, one made out of misplaced sympathy for a man who did not deserve it. His younger brother Kimball and his sister Tosca remained closer to their mother. The 3 siblings would later reconnect as adults, with Kimball becoming one of Elon's earliest and most loyal business partners. At 17, Elon left South Africa for Canada, using his Canadian citizenship through his mother to escape both the country and the mandatory military service that would have conscripted him into an army defending a system he wanted no part of. He arrived in Canada with almost nothing. He worked on a farm. He cleaned out boilers in a lumber mill, a job so physically punishing that the full-time workers told him no one lasted more than a few days. He lasted longer. He enrolled at Queen's University in Ontario, then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned degrees in economics and physics. He was accepted into a PhD program at Stanford University in energy physics. He lasted 2 days. He had already decided. The internet was happening right now. and a PhD could wait. The world, as Elon Musk understood it, could not. In 1995, Elon Musk arrived in Silicon Valley with his brother Kimball and approximately $28,000 between them. They could not afford an apartment and an office simultaneously, so they chose the office. They slept on the floor, they showered at the local YMCA, and every morning Elon sat down at a computer and built a company called Zip2, a web-based city guide that provided maps and business directories to newspapers at a time when most newspaper executives were not entirely sure what the internet was. It was not glamorous. It was not visionary in the way his later companies would be. But it worked. And in 1999, Compaq acquired Zip2 for $307 million in cash. Elon's share was $22 million. He was 27 years old. He had never had money before. He spent almost none of it. Instead, he took $12 million and put it into his next company, an online financial services and email payment company he called X.com, which would eventually merge with a competitor called Confinity and emerge from that merger under a new name, PayPal. When eBay acquired PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion, Elon Musk walked away with $180 million. He was 30 years old. He had now made more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes, and he had already decided exactly what he was going to do with it. He was going to spend it all. The bets nobody believed. In 2002, Elon founded Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, SpaceX. The stated goal was not profit. The stated goal was to make humanity a multi-planetary species by reducing the cost of space travel by a factor of 10 and eventually establishing a self-sustaining colony on Mars. Every aerospace engineer he approached told him the same thing. It could not be done. Rockets were too expensive, too complex, too dangerous for a private company operating without government infrastructure and decades of institutional knowledge. Elon listened carefully to every objection, and then he went and did it anyway. In 2004, 1 year after SpaceX was founded, he invested into a small electric car company that was struggling to turn a prototype into a product. That company was Tesla. He became chairman of the board, then chief executive officer, and proceeded to do with electric vehicles exactly what he had done with rockets. He ignored every rational argument for why it could not work and replaced it with a singular, almost terrifying certainty that it would. Both companies nearly killed him. By 2008, Tesla was months from bankruptcy. The Roadster, its first vehicle, was plagued by production problems, cost overruns, and a price point that made it accessible only to a narrow slice of wealthy early adopters. At the same time, SpaceX had suffered 3 consecutive rocket launch failures. 3 rockets. 3 explosions. The 4th launch, Elon has since said, was funded with money he did not actually have. Borrowed against assets he was not certain would hold their value, from friends who believed in him more than the numbers suggested they should. The 4th rocket launched successfully. Tesla secured a critical round of financing hours before it would have run out of cash. Both companies survived the same week. Elon Musk had bet everything he had on 2 impossible ideas simultaneously, and by the narrowest margin imaginable, both of them held. The fortune what followed is the most dramatic wealth creation story in modern financial history. Tesla went public in 2010. SpaceX, which has remained private, began winning NASA contracts and then commercial launch contracts that transformed it from a passion project into the dominant force in the global launch industry. By 2020, Tesla's stock price had increased by more than 700% in a single year. The largest single-year gain for a company of its size in the history of the American stock market. Elon Musk's net worth, which had fluctuated for years between $1 billion and $20 billion, depending on Tesla's share price, exploded. By January of 2021, he surpassed Jeff Bezos to become the richest person on Earth. His net worth at that moment was $185 billion. It has fluctuated significantly since, dropping by as much as $100 billion during Tesla's 2022 downturn, then recovering, then climbing again, but has consistently remained in the range that makes him either the first or second wealthiest individual on the planet on any given day. As of early 2025, estimates place his net worth at approximately $250 billion. On his best days, closer to $300 billion. Numbers that exist in a category of abstraction that even professional financial analysts struggle to contextualize. He owns approximately 13% of Tesla, roughly 42% of SpaceX, which was valued at approximately $210 billion in its most recent funding round. He acquired Twitter in 2022 for $44 billion. A purchase he initially tried to withdraw from, was legally compelled to complete, and has since rebranded as X. He owns The Boring Company, a tunnel infrastructure firm, and Neuralink, a neurotechnology company developing brain-computer interfaces that have already been implanted in human patients. He does not own a conventional home. He has stated publicly that he lives in a small rented house near the SpaceX facility in Boca Chica, Texas, valued at around $50,000. Whether that is entirely accurate or partially performance is a question reasonable people disagree on. What is not in question is that for a man of his means, his personal consumption is strikingly, almost aggressively modest. The family he built and the cost of building it, Elon Musk has 11 children. That number alone tells a story. His first child, Nevada Alexander Musk, was born in 2002 with his first wife, Justine Wilson, a Canadian author he met at Queen's University. Nevada died of sudden infant death syndrome at 10 weeks old. Elon has spoken about that loss only rarely and with visible difficulty. It was, by any measure, the kind of grief that reshapes a person at the foundation. He and Justine went on to have 5 more sons together, twins Griffin and Xavier, born in 2004, and triplets Damien, Saxon, and Kai, born in 2006. The marriage ended in divorce in 2008, the same year Tesla and SpaceX nearly collapsed simultaneously. Justine has written candidly about their marriage, about feeling like an employee rather than a partner, about the way his ambition consumed the space where a relationship was supposed to live. He married actress Tallulah Riley in 2010. They divorced in 2012, remarried in 2013, divorced again in 2016. 2 marriages, 2 divorces, the same person. A pattern that says something about both the pull and the impossibility of being close to him. With the musician Claire Boucher, known professionally as Grimes, he has 3 children. A son named Xaxai, born in 2020, whose name became a subject of international fascination and California administrative confusion. A daughter named Exa Dark Sideral, born via surrogate in 2021. And a 3rd child, Technomechanicus, born in 2022. In 2022, it was reported that Elon had fathered twins with Siobhan Zilis, an executive at Neuralink, shortly before the birth of his 3rd child with Grimes. The twins' names have not been made fully public. His son Xavier, born as his twin Griffin's brother, has publicly identified as a transgender woman and changed her name to Vivian Jenna Wilson, taking her mother's surname. She has stated publicly that she does not wish to be associated with her biological father in any way. Elon has spoken about this with a mixture of pain and bewilderment that is not resolved into acceptance, at least not publicly. 11 children, 3 women, 3 marriages, a fortune that could theoretically sustain every one of them for 1,000 years, and a family portrait that is, by any honest accounting, he as complicated as everything else Elon Musk has ever built. There is a question that journalists have asked Elon Musk in dozens of interviews, across decades, in different rooms, in different contexts, and different moments of his life. What are you going to do with all that money? The answer has never changed. Mars, not a metaphor, not a branding exercise, not the kind of vague philanthropic vision that billionaires deploy when they want to sound larger than their balance sheets. He means a city, a self-sustaining human civilization on the surface of another planet. 1 million people by his own stated timeline within the next 20 years. A backup drive for the human species against the very real possibility that Earth, through war or climate or collision or simple catastrophic misfortune, may one day no longer be habitable. He has said, with the flatness of someone stating a fact rather than a dream, that he expects to die on Mars, not on Earth, not in a hospital in California or Texas, or wherever the arc of his life eventually slows. On Mars, that is the plan. That is what the money is for. It is easy to dismiss this as the grandiosity of a man who has spent so long being told he was right that he has lost the ability to recognize the boundaries of what is possible. It is also easy, if you have been paying attention to what Elon Musk has already done, to take it completely seriously. Because the pattern of his life is not the pattern of a man who dreams and fails to execute. It is the pattern of a man who announces something impossible, absorbs years of ridicule for believing it, and then, not always gracefully, not always without enormous collateral damage, actually does it. Private rockets that land themselves back on their launch pads, electric vehicles that outsell combustion engines in multiple markets, brain implants that allow paralyzed patients to control computers with their thoughts. These were all, at some point, things that serious people said could not be done. What the money has cost, though, is a ledger that runs alongside the achievements in parallel and does not balance neatly. A son who has severed contact and taken a different name. Marriages that could not survive the gravitational pull of his ambition. Children who will grow up reading about their father in the news before they fully understand who he is in a room. Employees who have described working for him as the most meaningful and the most brutal experience of their professional lives, sometimes in the same sentence. Elon Musk is 53 years old. He has 11 children, $300 billion on his best days, and a rocket company that is actively developing the vehicle he intends to use to leave this planet permanently. He has said that he does not fear death. He has said that he fears more than anything that humanity will not make it. That the window of time in which we are technically capable of becoming multiplanetary will close before we have the collective will to use it. That fear is, in its way, the most human thing about him. The fortune is not the story. The fortune is the fuel. And the destination, whether he reaches it or not, whether any of us live to see it, is somewhere none of us have ever been.